to Bellerin! Bellerin! Hey to Bellerin!
Owned by Mustafi. Bellerin! Brilliant! 2-2! Hector Bellerin, Bellerin, Hector Bellerin. Na, 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 na. Dat is het. Ja.
All right, everybody. Welcome to the Thursday edition of Saved by the Bellerin, the Arsenal Football Club video cast here on the Sports Talk Live Network. Smaller crew today. I'm Raphael, joining you from the U.S., and today I'm joined by Ryan, joining me from who's comes in from London. We both look like we're hanging out at the Emirates. He's pining for the crowds. Hopefully, we'll get some word on fans being able to attend in the very near future. But on this Thursday, short crew, but we're not short on information. A lot of news, a lot of developments, Ryan, certainly since we were here 48 hours ago. Let's begin with the name is on everybody's lips. He's been a pipe dream. You know, you brought him up. Tell the fans, Ryan brought up Jose Aouar on a pod back in March, I believe. We were talking about possible midfield targets and you know, lots of names. He had just made a video about another target that didn't come to pass, but he threw out this name. He goes, well, there's this guy at Lyon, and I'll let you pick it up from there.
Yeah, the date was the 27th of March. The minute was 11th minute and the 16th second. I said, if we're looking at an Mesut Ozil replacement in the summer, it has to be the kid at Lyon named Aouar. And
here we are. He's not here yet. I mean, you're wondering, have they signed him? No. But he's like right there. They can like reach out. They can almost touch him. Let's recap what we do know. They are talking to Lyon. It seems they have made a concrete offer, and you know, different sources, different numbers, somewhere in the neighborhood, probably just north of 40 million euros. He wants to come to the club. I think that was the important point that comes out of all of the stories, regardless of where the sources are.
Yeah, a load of sources yesterday and today have said that the offer that Arsenal are going to make is imminent. It's going to be over 40 million euros, which is close to what Lyon wanted for a while, so that's good. And then Fabrizio Romano said that Aouar actually wants to join Arsenal. So all the reliable French outlets have said that the offer is imminent. And then Fabrizio has said that he wants to join, and I'm getting excited. So
I mean, well,
it's obviously happening.
Right, this follows the trajectory we talked about, and we kick these back. You know, people bring us these rumors. What about this rumor? What about that rumor? Really, they bring them to you, and they bring them to Sam. But you know, there's been a lot of chatter in Italian-based social media. I mean, it's not official, not people like Fabrizio, but you know, lower social media. You know, and those words. There's a special agreement with Juve. He wants to go to Juve. You know, it doesn't matter the Italian club. It seems like this is the arc that's presented. You know, people get confused about the clubs. I'm talking about how it's presented in the press. And we always hear he's going to Italy. He wants to go to Italy. Half a dozen players now. If it happens with Aouar, this is like player 6, player 7. But he's going to Italy, and then it doesn't happen. And then he miraculously winds up at Arsenal Football Club. But we know the manager loves him. That's been clear. You know, some of these stories say that they've agreed terms with him going back 2 weeks. So this tells us there's been a lot of simmering conversations, shall we say, a lot of negotiations kind of at a low temperature. And now they've really cranked it up. And the opportunity's there, right? I don't know how many of you saw this. These guys were watching on Tuesday when he was playing. He was red carded very early in Lyon's match. He is out for 3 games. And, you know, as a lot of people have speculated, and I think you're right about this, if he comes to Arsenal, that 3 games carries over, would it not?
It would, but the French FA have said it's only a 1-match suspension, so it's not too bad.
Okay. So he could be here.
So the only game, if he's...
Go ahead. Which game would he miss?
If he signs next week, he'll miss Liverpool.
Oh, okay. I was about to say, is there any chance he'd be available for that match? But even if he is, even if he isn't, he's here, right? It looks like he's right there. Now, numbers, it's not just simply a matter of they throw the money at Leon. Leon says, okay, they sign it. You know, is what we've been talking about. I think you and Sam have really pushed this constantly. You have to look at the size of the squad. And bringing in players. People still bullish on Partey. We're not any less bullish on Thomas Partey here, or certainly a Aouar. But we all know the squad is full right now. There are a lot of names. There's a lot of deadwood, good players, but they don't figure into Arteta's plans. They need to go first before these guys can come in. How many? Let's be clear about this. How many need to leave in order for Aouar to come in?
There's conflicting stories. I've been trying to find out how many and try and do some research about it, but it depends. It could be one or two or three. It's actually quite confusing because some use Guendouzi as an under 21 player. They which then he doesn't take up a space, and then he does take up space and so forth. So it could be one, two, or three. It's okay. Really quite confusing.
And three names are mooted most frequently as those that could make room for him. Obviously, Lucas Torreira, we'll talk about him in a moment, because it looked like he was all but done, and now it looks like he might not be all but done. Sead Kolasinac, he's been connected with several German clubs. Now it looks like Bayer Leverkusen is the one in the lead, and obviously Socrates, who's been apparently going to Napoli forever. Let's start with Socrates, because it does seem that even if they work something out with Napoli, there's not going to be much of a fee. I mean, it looks like Arsenal, if they really need the space, could just terminate his contract.
Yeah, and I think the way it's going to go is he's going to ask us to mutually terminate his contract, all of his bonuses that he's due to receive throughout the season. Mm-hmm. Whereas if we cancelled it, he would receive those bonuses still. So if he mutually terminates it, we save money that way. And I think it'd be better for everyone if we just terminate it, because we're not going to get more than 3 or 4 million for him anyway, and we've saved that in his bonuses. So it's best for everyone if we just, he's not going to play, he's not in the plans, we need that space, and I would just do it.
And it's not insignificant. He's making 90,000 a week, 90,000 pounds a week. That's a lot of money saved just in salary, never mind the bonuses, right? So let's move up. Kolasinac, same situation. It looked like, we were thinking, we heard last week, 13 million euro bid. Now it seems reports more close to us, or close to the show. Arsenal's asking price is 10 million euros, about 9 million pounds. Similar, right? Here's another player with a huge salary it's you don't want to give up on a signing bonus, but I don't think Arsenal want to go to the mat and extend this any longer if they get what they think is a reasonable offer for him.
No, you're right. And someone mentioned it to me earlier. I was talking to some people in my in direct messages, and they said Arsenal just doing what they can to get the squad space. A backup left back is not as important as a starter midfield. And I didn't even look at it that way. But if you think about it, 10 million for Kolasinac, take it. We paid nothing for him. He's on a big wage. We can put that elsewhere. It makes sense because you've got Ainsley Maitland-Niles who can cover. You've got Saka who can cover. Yeah, it just makes sense. And the reports are that he wants to return home. So let's do it.
And we talked about these players, right? Kolasinac is making close to 100. He might be making 100,000 a week. If not, he's in the 90s. Socrates, I think, is in the 80s. Aouar, that might be his salary, 85, 90,000 for a player who's coming from Ligue 1, who's still only 22 years old. And let's put it in those terms. Would you rather pay that salary to a backup, whatever, center back or left back, or a guy who can really be a spark plug to your midfield? That's a no-brainer.
No, you're absolutely right. I'd rather pay Aouar £95,000 a week than Kolasinac, who's going to sit on the bench for most of the season because Tierney is the best left back in Europe. So it just makes much more sense for us to do that.
Okay, finally, the name we thought would be first out, who's still around, but maybe we're getting some relief. Let's talk about Lucas Torreira. It looked like he was going. Torino was in, and then there was two clubs in, and then Torino has come back. And it looked like Arsenal was going to get 22 million, some up front, like 8 million up front, and apparently obligation to buy. Now that looks a little shakier. My understanding is Torino has a rep in London right now. He was here today talking to the club. Have you heard any updates on the status of that transfer?
So I've actually read reports today that Roma have come back in for him. Now they've received some money for some players. I think it's Schwick. He's gone to Bayer Leverkusen actually. So they have some money now, so they could potentially buy him. So I don't mind if he's taken this long to leave, as long as there's a bidding war. If we can get more money, fantastic. And if it's Roma pushing Torino to make a better offer, or Fiorentina, or whoever it is, I'm all for it. Just get as much money as possible for him. With Torreira, he's at an age where he can still improve. So realistically, we should be looking at making our money back on him. Mm-hmm. I know he's had a poor season and a half. He's been injured, but still, he's only 23, 24, if that.
25, so, but still, you're right. He's got a lot of prime years. Has not had a lot of injury problems. He got stuck in the gears of Emery's misfire more than anything else. Started getting played out of position, lost his confidence. Yeah, that's a guy who has a future, just probably somewhere else.
Exactly. He's still worth £25 million, in my opinion. He might not be the player for us, but he's a decent player. He's very good at winning the ball back. He terrorizes people when they're on the ball. I still think he can fetch us £25 million base fee, but it all depends on what these broke Italian clubs can afford.
They're always broke and then they're not, and then they're broke and then they're not. We never know from day to day, right? That's part of the equation. Another thing that complicates, another transfer that complicates the space, and I think this causes a lot of confusion. There's a keeper roulette going on, right? We know that Emi Martinez is now a member of Aston Villa, right? He said his farewells. We were talking about it on Tuesday's pod. Arsenal quickly struck a deal for a keeper at Dijon, Runarsson, Icelandic, not that young, 25 years old, comes recommended by Arsenal's new keeper coach. So he's got some strong references there. But we were trading a player. I think Emi was homegrown for a non-homegrown, so that complicates matters. Now we're today the Arsenal. We heard earlier when Emi was going out, well, they're going to go for David Raya at Brentford, and then it seemed Brentford wanted a fortune for him. Arsenal backed off. Now today we hear Arsenal actually did make an official £10 million bid. Brentford has kicked it back, but that one bears watching.
Yeah, and there was a report that came up shortly before we came on, actually. I think it was about an hour or 2 hours ago, that said Brentford want £15 million plus us to loan him back for the season. Which, for me, it doesn't make much sense, because you're paying £15 million for a backup goalkeeper who's barely going to play, and then you're going to send him on loan to his old club. We still had Leno, who's not that much older than Raya. I'd rather spend 1.4 million on this goalkeeper from Dijon than £15 million on a backup keeper. We might as well kept Emi Martinez. If we're spending that much money, we might as well just kept him for his contract. But yeah.
Well, it does seem that he's pushing. I mean, that goes hand in hand with all of this. It seems Raya would be very interested in coming to Arsenal. Also, I think what entices us as fans and the club as well, he would be a homegrown player, correct? And so that would kind of make bringing other players in a little bit easier if Arsenal registered him as the backup keeper, would they not? Would it not?
Yeah, it would. It'd make more sense for squad space and whatnot. And just going back to the squad space, there's if Arsenal don't have enough homegrown players, they have to register a reduced squad. So they can't have 25 players; they'd have to have 23, which then is another problem.
Yeah, considering they're starting in 4 competitions. Obviously, we've seen Mikel concedes nothing. He's not going to throw away any potential cups, even his Carabao Cup. He's like, I'm going to try to win that. FA Cup, you just want it. He's the holder of the cup. He's not going to give that one away. Obviously, he's going to want to go as far as he can in Europa because you're in it to win it, right? He's in it to win everything. So, before we move on, what do you think are the odds of getting something done with Raya? Does it depend on Raya pushing from the other side, in your opinion?
I don't think it's going to go much further than it is. I can't see Arsenal paying. If we're to believe the reports that Arsenal are broke and whatnot, it doesn't make sense for Arsenal to spend £15 million on a backup goalkeeper only to loan him back and then sacrifice what we could have in midfield. Because that 15 million, if we are broke, could go on Thomas Partey or Aouar, or even like if we sold someone else, a backup left back, a backup striker. It just doesn't make sense for us to spend that much money on a goalkeeper.
Right. Okay. Well, let's talk about that other guy. Again, Thomas Partey's gone quiet for the short term, for the interim. It seems that Lacazette going out, that's quieted down. It seems, just to my eyes, everything right now is dependent on Aouar, and we've talked about that. But it seems that's the 2-step. Aouar, because he doesn't have a release clause as reasonable or as low, say, as Thomas Partey's, Arsenal want to get him done first. You don't, as I think Sam made the point, and I think he said absolutely right. You've seen the way Alas works in negotiation. You don't want to trigger a release clause, show, hey, we've got 45 million to pay up front, and then Leon comes back and says, well, if you got 45 million for him, give us 55 million for him. He's younger. He's hot. He just got us deep into the Champions League. Pay up. So it's almost, given the prices that we're hearing about Aouar earlier today that are closer to 40, somewhere between 40 and 45 million pounds rather than 55 million pounds. And actually, I want to bring that forward. I was going to talk about it, and we got wrapped up in the intricacies of it. No matter where it falls, if it's in that range, this is a COVID cut down price. Has to be. If Arsenal pass on this 12 months from now, he's not going to be 45 million. He might be 55, 60 million, and you're going to have 3 or 4 other big European clubs competing with you for him.
Exactly. He could be worth double, depending on the season he has. He could be worth 80 next summer if COVID is gone. So really, we need to seal that deal as quickly as possible. For me, I wouldn't even worry about the squad space because you don't even have to register these players. Just get your signings done that you want, and then figure out the rest later, especially with a player like Aouar. Because if City do eventually come in, or Juventus, or someone of that nature who do find the funds for him, it's going to be a struggle to seal him as quickly. So I would just try and get him done as quickly as possible. And with Partey, his release clause is going nowhere. He's going to be there all summer. And as you said, if Leon see us pay 45 million for him, they're going to tax us like they did with Lacazette. They see we paid for someone, that someone charged us 56 million for Lacazette when he was only worth 45. So he does do that. And with Partey, there was a report from Mundo Deportivo today that said Atletico Madrid are confident of keeping him, but they are aware of the threat from Arsenal until deadline day. Realistically, what we should say as Arsenal, we should say to them, sell him for cheaper and you can go and get a replacement. Or we'll wait till 2 days before deadline day and we will activate it then. Then you have no time for a replacement. You choose. And then they're stuck in an ultimatum. Then sell him for 10 million or over a period of time, so we don't have to pay up front, or they get no replacements. We need to act like a big club on that one, I think.
Arsenal's getting a little benefit. It's just one of these strange coincidences where you said City has been linked with Aouar, but they're not looking for midfielders right now. They seem to have a glut in the midfield. They're looking for defense. So other clubs that I think that Leon was hoping would come in, Juventus, they're looking at other things. They're looking for striker. They're trying to maybe sort some other positions on their club. That's not a priority. Arsenal's, again, this incredible bubble, this incredible opportunity to move and get the players you want at prices that'll suit you in the long term. And again, it bears repeating, if they get these two guys, what are they really looking for next summer? What do they really need if they're able to complete the midfield? Not much.
No, not much at all. We was talking about it after the show on Tuesday. And you think about it, the only positions I would probably need is if Bellerin leaves next summer, then we're going to need a right back. You may need a backup left back if Maitland-Niles doesn't perform well, or we don't want him and Saka covering, and potentially centre forward, because of we don't know what's going to happen with Lacazette. If he doesn't sign an extension, and he will only have 1 year left on his contract, so we'd have to sell him. So we'd have to get a centre forward, and that is pretty much it. But as we was talking about the other night, we're going to have so much money next summer. Hopefully, COVID is gone, so we have fans back in stadiums, so we get the gate fee back. We'll hopefully be in the Champions League, whether we finish in the top 4 or win the Europa. That's another 40 million, 45 million on top of that. Ozil contract would have run out, so again, 20 million a season from him, from that contract running out.
Just from the salary being off the books, right?
Exactly. So we could have in excess of 150 million to spend next summer with our budget, Champions League, gate fees, contracts running down. And that is a good place to be. So if we can take this opportunity of rebuilding our midfield this summer, rather than doing it next summer, we cut a year off our rebuild. It took Liverpool 4 years to win the Premier League. If we can cut that year off, I can see us challenging for it in 2 years.
Okay. Let's we're a lot to talk about. Let's just end with this, okay? Odds. Do you think that Aouar could be, again, where he seems like right there? Do you think they can have him done early next week? By the time we come back on the pod in 5 days on Tuesday, are we going to be talking about Aouar? Are we going to be like saying, I got to put his name on the back of this shirt, or I got to order a new one now because he's on the club?
Well, that's what I'm waiting for. I'm waiting for for him to finally sign so I can get him on the back of my shirt. But I'm not sure. You know what Arsenal are like, how slow they are.
Oh yeah,
absolutely everything. So
deliberate. Club FC deliberate, right?
Yeah, I think Arsenal are the type of club that likes to do things above board, make sure they're abiding by every guideline possible. So I think they're gonna wait until we get the squad space and then bring him in. Okay. Because they're not gonna want that kind of trouble.
There is a match coming up on Saturday. Or is it Sunday? I've lost track with all the news of the transfers. It's coming up this weekend. Arsenal, top of the league, tied with Leicester, top of the league on points and goal difference. They take the pitch against West Ham United, a club that's in a bit of disarray right now. Ownership issues, haven't done all that well in the market, some discontent from the fans. Their manager seems a little discouraged about that, David Moyes not feeling as supported as maybe he should be. Another opportunity, we're talking about opportunities left, opportunities right, an opportunity here for 3 more points. You've had a chance to look at West Ham in week 1. Did you see anything there that leaves you a little uncertain about this match? Or are you feeling pretty good about it?
I'm feeling very confident about the game. It's just whether they can get Antonio into the game. Because if they get him into the game, he will cause us problems. But other than that, I think if we score 1, I said it last time, if we score 1, the floodgates are going to open. They didn't do very well against Newcastle, and all respect to Newcastle, we are a much, much better team than them. And if they play like that against us, we're going to slap them 5 or 6-0. And we're playing at the Emirates as well, so we're comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. Any concerns? When we look at this matches, we look at it and say, okay, this club's weak, this club's weak. We know, though, that our roster might be a little short, a little thin. One thing that we do know, I have my little pun here that I'm waiting to say, that Rob Holding is in a holding pattern. He was rumored to be going to West Ham. Apparently, they've offered quite a bit. I think it was, £8 million to take him on loan. And he said no. I mean, we know that the manager was very complimentary. Arteta was very complimentary of Rob Holding. He had a very good match. He was showing off his dribbling skills, kind of set up the second goal with quite an impressive kind of volley, kind of slalom volley through the ranks. And he's having fun. Seems he's having fun. He wants to keep the fun going. His manager wants to keep him developing. So it's all good for us. I guess it's good for him. It's good for us.
Absolutely.
Fans.
Absolutely. And Mikel Arteta is going to have a massive headache on Saturday because David Luiz is back in training. You got Rob Holding, who's on form. Gabriel had a great debut. And then Saliba has started speaking properly in English. So he's adapting pretty well as well. So I feel sorry for him. He's got a big decision to make. Because then you've got Pepe, who came on and did great against Fulham. Do you drop Willian for him, or do you try and fit them both into the same team with Aubameyang and Lacazette? God help that guy.
Okay. Nice problems all around. I mean, this is so different. This is so different from 12 months ago. I was thinking Arsenal won their first 2 matches, and then they went to Anfield and were found out pretty quickly. The Emery... The glow came off the Emery convertible pretty quickly.
Yep.
Very different mindset this year, and I think everybody is looking at maybe going into Anfield with 6 points. We don't want to get ahead of things. You never predict injuries. It's an uncertain game, but I think Anfield this year has a different feel to it for several reasons. Number one, Mikel's already beaten Jurgen Klopp twice in the last 3 months. Second, we could see, he's not going to be in the lineup, but maybe a guy like Rumours sitting in the stands watching the club play. Just all of these little things that can just add juice to a locker room. And it seems that they keep good news keeps coming by the day. And I just want to pinch myself, like, this is a good dream. Let's stay in it.
Yeah, but the difference with the start to last season and the start to this season so far is we saw Newcastle outplay us on the opening day of the season. We scraped a 1-0 win. We saw Burnley outplay us at the Emirates and we scraped a 2-1 win. Aubameyang saving us on both occasions. And then we went to Liverpool and us on the pod were like, oh, this could be it if he picks the right team. He didn't pick the right team.
No.
But now you feel with Arteta, they have to come to us and they're going to get strangled. They're not going to be able to play against us. We're going to want to beat them, but not play. With our Emery, he was more, how can we stop them? Now it's, how can they stop us?
Yes. And such a different mindset, when as fans thinking about the game, because I'm thinking about these games aggressively now. I'm not thinking like, can we hang on can we keep it 0-0 for 60 minutes and then maybe things will turn? I'm looking for this club, it seems, and we've seen it in all these matches. They go out and maybe for the first 10 minutes they're shaky, for the first 15 minutes they're shaky, and then bang, there's a counterattack and they're taking leads into the half. It's not just Liverpool. They did this against City. They did this against other big clubs. They have this real kind of coiled snake energy and they're just looking to bite you. And it's, as a fan, that's just such a sea change from what we've been used to the last couple of years.
Yeah, against Fulham, we came out straight away and we had 4 shots in the first 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. And with Arsenal, that's, we haven't seen that since Wenger days. Playing against the smaller teams, you're thinking, they're going to play defensive. We're not going to be able to break them down. No. On that game, we went straight for their throat. We scored early and it killed the game straight away because they can't hope on catching us on the counter attack. They're going to have to come out and play. and then we just killed them. We killed the game off, and it was great to watch.
Yeah, and I'm just looking forward to more and more and more match days like that.
Yeah.
Let's pull one question out of the chat. Is about a guy we used to talk about every week, and he's gone quiet with all the Aouar news. But does Aouar's is from Austin, who wants to know, does Aouar's pending arrival kill the Philippe Coutinho story?
Yeah, for me it does. Koeman has said he wants to keep Coutinho at Barcelona. We won't have any space for him if we keep Ozil and sign Aouar, because they're both players who can play in that position. So I think it doesn't, financially and squad space, it doesn't make much sense.
Okay,
so I don't think he will.
Let's turn to the game just a little bit more, because we've been, there's so much to talk about in the transfer market and so much potentially like thrilling news. But we're confident. I'm confident with you. Let's talk about rotation. Let's talk about lineup. I mean, we saw Willian go in straight away. Had a really good match. He was assisted all 3 Arsenal goals. Pepe came on really late. Is this the week now, week 2, that Nico's ready to go? That we see him in the lineup as a starter, and if that's so, is Willian going to move somewhere else? Might we see? We've talked about different formations. They're still with 3 in the back, but they seem to be getting healthier. Might we see that experiment was kicked around when he was first started, where Willian's in the center of the advance 4?
I wouldn't. I would try it. Definitely try it. It's a game where you can try lineups like that, because West Ham aren't great. They haven't improved anywhere in their squad, so it's something I would try, especially if you've got Granit Xhaka and Dani Ceballos behind. Mm-hmm. That is such a good ball keeping midfield. And then the 3 behind Lacazette, because I'm assuming either Nketiah or Lacazette is going to start. With the 3 behind, they can play in all 3 positions. Pepe can go left, Aubameyang can go on the right, Willian in the middle, or he can go on the wing. That's
true. They can just cycle and just go wherever, right?
Yeah, and that's going to confuse the hell out of the defence. Because 1 minute you're picking Aubameyang up on the right back position, and then he's in the middle. And then you're like, whoa, you're in a daze. So it could work. It could work.
Okay, we know Mikel's having fun moving the pieces and planning it all out. I'm ready. I mean, it's Thursday. I'm ready. Any final thoughts? Again, we're just make it happen. I know you were talking about getting Aouar on a shirt in the summertime. It's like, this is the one. I'm saving my money for this one. I've got mine. It doesn't have a name on it, but I'm with you. If Houssem Aouar becomes an Arsenal player, they're going to take more of my money, and I'll gladly give it to them.
I'm in the same boat.
All right, folks. A little shorter here, a little less, but again, lots of exciting Arsenal news. Hopefully we'll have some definitive word. We had Aubameyang on Tuesday. Aouar, it looks like he's that close. Love to have definitive word for you on Tuesday, and obviously discussion of another win. We are working on getting something about personal terms being agreed with Raya. I don't know if you've seen that, but as we wind it down, thank you for that. We're working on getting you some video toys, some video in game. We're building a post game show. We want to take this experience to the immediate post game. Not just talk about the game, but show it to you, map it out, and share more of that with you. So watch for that. Obviously, our deadline day show will be coming up 2 weeks. That fast? 2 weeks? 3 weeks from Monday. So we'll be working on that, building guests. Hopefully, we'll have some more late transfers. We might see Thomas Partey go to that show. So, stick with us. We're growing. We're happy to have you along with us. You give us a lot of energy. You give us a lot of encouragement, and we appreciate every one of you out there in the internet world. So for Freddie, who's not with us today, for Sam, who is not with us today, but who will both be with us next week, for Ryan, catching up on a little sleep. He's new daddy. Daddy duties are kind of taken away, but Arsenal puts a smile back on his face as does his baby girl. I want to say thank you and good night for all of us here at Say by the Bellerin.